Let me show you how I turn mushrooms into an amazing breakfast sandwich. So this recipe is actually inspired by the McDonald's McGriddle sandwich. That's what I'm trying to go for. Not all the way, but it's the inspiration. So instead of using eggs, we're going to use chickpea flour, and instead of using vegan sausage or even, regular meat, we're going to be using these mushrooms. So the key to really good chickpea flour eggs is the seasoning. So my trio is always onion powder, garlic powder, and smoked paprika. I feel like that adds so much, like, just overall seasoning. But the super duper key is this oh my goodness, is this black Indian salt. Now the salt is not actually black, it's actually more of a pinkish color, but it adds like this that eggy taste, that sulfur eggy taste, more like what you get from boiled eggs. I kind of forgot this, but the curry powder is also important because it's going to give that yellow color to the chickpea flour to kind of resemble the eggs that we're used to, when you have an egg sandwich. Now I know a lot of people, they don't really like mushrooms, and I used to not like mushrooms either. Most of it came from the fact that they were so mushy and soft, and I know it's like a big trend now to get like the fancy, oyster mushrooms. I'm guilty of using those. Actually, in my when I cooked for Tabitha Brown, that was my mushroom that I used to fry them. These are just your regular portobello mushrooms you can get from the grocery store. The key that I tell everyone is to get all that moisture out before you add any seasoning. So you see here, I'm actually pressing a pan on top of the mushrooms while they're in the oil. And I didn't make this technique up. This is actually from Derek Sarno. I'll make sure to tag him in the description and put his name up on the screen. Then once they're dehydrated and I get a nice sear, I add my flavors. You add whatever seasoning you like, but I think the most important seasoning, if you're trying to go for more of like that sausagey taste, is the fennel seed. So I have some actual whole fennel seed I grind up in my mortar and pestle, and then I add it on top of everything else. Now, if you look at this pan, I added a little bit too much oil, okay? I'm not perfect. I didn't want to pretend like it was perfect, but I messed up. I added way too much oil. I got a little heavy-handed there. It looks like eggs, right? That's just chickpea flour, 1 part chickpea flour, 1 part water, and then seasoning. Now, okay, I messed up. It's not quite how I wanted it to be because it got stuck a little bit, but we're gonna still make this work. I didn't let the pan get hot enough because I'm using stainless steel. If I had let it get hot enough, I do believe the chickpea flour wouldn't got stuck, but I still got a pretty good texture, right? So then the next step is actually this bread. This is actually sourdough bread that I got from Sprouts. I love sourdough bread because it's super good for gut health because it is fermented, and also it's going to be a good balance to the sweetness that we're going to have. Now, Shayla Felice has a really good French toast recipe that this is inspired by. I didn't have like traditional plant-based milk, so I had to make it my own by using some coconut milk, thinning it out with water, and then I added flavor with cinnamon powder, vanilla extract, coconut sugar. You can even try things like ginger powder. I've done that before, or even cardamom. That's really good. Then I just dip my sourdough roll I did both sides, but here I just did one side, and just let it press in there into that oil until you get a nice, beautiful brown crust. Look at that. That is nice. And so we did that for both sides. That's going to be the French toast part that's representing the McGriddle. Now, this is not traditional. This is not what you usually see in the McDonald's McGriddle sandwich, okay? But I think this is necessary because the savoriness from the mushrooms and from the flour, from the chickpea eggs, and then the sweetness from the French toast, I wanted to break that up with some acid. So that's why I went with the tomatoes. And then we layer, and we're gonna go ahead and plate. Start with our toast, put our chickpea eggs on, get our mushrooms on top of that. I add my sliced tomato. This is the last bit of tomato. That's why I was looking a little bit crazy. Then top it with the sourdough toast, and let's go in for the taste test. Don't that look pretty? All right, I cut it in half. Look at that. You can see the layers of the chickpea egg. That's the mushroom. You see the crust of the French toast part on the top and bottom. I forgot about the tomato. That acid from the tomato, it breaks through all the fat. The fennel seasoning is really important because that's going to add like a nice kind of Italian flavor to the mushroom. And then the sourdough bread, I think that really goes well with the sweetness of the French toast batter. It's good. The chickpea eggs came out pretty good. I thought they weren't because they were looking crazy, but they came out good. So it's a quick breakfast sandwich. Hope you can try it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.